Troy, I'm mentally exhausted from Saturday. Can you just speak about how your team's growing mentally? Because to do that to a national team, um, negate them when they had scored 5 goals and 14 goals in the last 5 matches, that shows mental growth. Or is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, man. But hey, you don't need to be fatigued right now, Dave. You know, the mental exhaustion, we got to fight through this period. This is a time period to enjoy. I said that at the beginning of the stretch. So this is what we want, man. I think the way the guys played the other day in terms of how we defended was exceptional. And 3 out of the last 4 matches, we've had clean sheets and defended really well. I think we don't want to be defending as often as we've been defending lately. I think that's a topic that we look at and say, how can we generate more attacks and not have to defend our box as often as we are. But we've been very good in box defending. We've been very good getting numbers behind the ball. And there's something to be said for that in terms of the mental capacity that you allude to and how strong that makes you. And against very good sides in New York City and Nashville, both those teams have a lot of attacking power, and Charlotte does as well. So, as we go into this Open Cup match, we're going to need to continue with those defensive habits. Again, hopefully we're not defending as often as we have been in the last few matches. But we still have the target in mind to build off of the clean sheets that we've had lately.
I think, since last year, you've emphasized joy as a theme, where that's been part of. So while you look at this busy period and you can think, wow, it's a lot of work, but do you get a sense of squad, you enjoying this time where it's games every few days?
Yeah, that's one thing I pointed out. I mean, I think every player, I can't speak for the players as a whole or the other coaches. From the coaching side, it's a lot to keep turning around, in preparation. But from a player standpoint, I know they always would rather play matches than train as often as we train in preparation for most matches. We have 4 or 5 days of training. I think the guys would rather play every 3-4 days, just because that is enjoyable. From the coaching staff side, it's a lot of work. But again, I think that's it's fun to be able to try to figure out where the players are, who's the best available that we have to go and take on the next challenge, and trying to build off the form that we've had in the last few matches in terms of the defensive side is something that I'm looking forward to getting back out there and seeing if we can do that against Charlotte.
And the emotion of where you are right now. I mean, now round of 16, it's on the horizon. The trophy, it's all over the weekend, but a trophy meant to Crystal Palace and its supporters and people in tears. Or it may not be the championship, but it's still big. It's a trophy. And you getting that sense within the camp, you're feeling the emotion of you're one step closer, and now it's somewhat in sight?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a step closer. There's no doubt about it, but there's many steps ahead of us. So I think if you're able to progress from the round of 16 into the quarterfinals, that's a big step, and obviously a necessary one. But we haven't done that in a long time. I mean, I always try to give a little bit of history to our players because our history is special. It helps educate the players, but also it helps inspire them. And it's been since 2013 that we've been in the quarterfinals. So that's the next goal for us.
Next, we'll go to Donald Wine.
Thank you. Hey, Troy. Thanks for your time today. I wanted to start. You mentioned the defensive side of the ball where you've had a few clean sheets in a row. On the offensive end, I know it's been a struggle. You haven't had a goal in a few matches. How do you get that bridge back between your defense shining and getting more, creating more offense?
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic that we need to address because, as I spoke about earlier, I don't want to see us defend as often and as deep as we've had to defend in the last couple of matches. And I think a lot of that has to do with us being able to progress the ball up the field and get the right players on the ball at the right time and create more. We just need to create more. And, we have a group that's more than capable of that. Certainly without Christian, it's a different challenge for us, but we can solve that challenge. Christian and Dominique Badji not being available, that's 2 nines that bring us into a different way. But we have other options that I think can also bring us into really creative attacks, and that's what we've been focused on the last few days.
You mentioned the stretch that you're in with so many games and kind of the rhythm that you're able to kind of generate with players playing all the time. Does that also, on the flip side, you mentioned Baji and Christian being unavailable, does that kind of hurt the progress of some of the guys who might be having fielding knocks or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we've built a squad this year where we have more depth in numbers and more depth in quality. So I think, those guys are able to step up and still be able to contribute and get into a good way themselves.
Last one for me, it's the Open Cup, but you're playing an MLS team that you're familiar with in Charlotte. How different is that compared to maybe a Charleston, who, yes, you saw in the preseason, but maybe don't have as much tape on as opposed to an MLS team where you may be more familiar with?
Yeah, our preparation against Charleston wasn't too different from playing an MLS opponent. I mean, we were able to get the same amount of footage on them. What we can't predict is obviously how Charlotte will approach this. What I assume is they'll want to go for the match just as much as we will. So I think we look at it as an opponent that is extremely organized, hard to break down. I mean, they do a great job of defending themselves, and they have some players in attacking transition that we have to be aware of.
Great, thanks, Trey.
We'll go back to Dave Johnson.
And Troy, just any other, message that you want to get across to the supporters of where the team is at this critical point of the season in a busy month? Just anything else you wanted to share that we didn't ask about?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we see a nice turnout tomorrow night as we start to progress through this tournament. That's what I'm hopeful of, and I know anytime I've met with our supporters before, one of their favorite memories is 2013, and so we want to have a great match tomorrow night, and we need their support, and they're always there for us, and we want to show up tomorrow night for them and get a result and keep progressing in this tournament.
Thanks.
Good. Yeah, Coach. We've talked a little bit about the recent success defensively and with Luis Barraza, but is there something specific you can pinpoint as to where the success is coming from specifically, or is it just a full team effort on the back half?
It's absolutely a full team effort. I also think from a few individuals, Luis Barraza, you mentioned him, he's had some very good performances. New York City stands out, and even Nashville, I mean, he makes a couple of very good saves. But I think the collective group of our center backs, our wing backs, and our sixes, just everyone is working really hard to make sure that we limit the chances from the opponent, and then if they break us down, we're able to try to recover with numbers as much as possible. So I really I think the group also knows, when Christian's out, this is a big deal, right? So you have to step up in different ways, and I think our defensive group is saying that's no problem. We're going to make it as hard as we can on the opponent and keep us in matches.
You always say that most of the time it's the players that bring themselves together and talk about what was going right, what was going wrong. Did you see that? Because from the beginning or the end of March and April, there was that period where there was a lot of goals being let up, and now it seems like the defensive side's figuring out. Did you see that from the players, them trying to fix this problem, not just you guys in the front office?
Yeah, I absolutely. Our players, when I came in at halftime the other day against Nashville, what I love, the great feeling as a coach is when you come in at halftime and there's actual conversation being had by the players, and it's organic. It's not being forced upon them by myself or any of the coaches. That's where problems get solved, and I think you have to create that environment, you have to foster that environment, and then the guys have to ultimately speak up whenever they see things on the field, because it's a different vantage point, and they're the ones that are between the touchlines and are going to solve the problem most of the time.
June's had his success in this tournament. Luis, with the recent success in MLS, do you know who you're going with tomorrow night yet? Or
yeah, June's going to start tomorrow night. Yeah, and he did well in the first match, and I hope he continues to get more matches in this competition.
What do you like about the fact that you're able to have kind of some depth here at goalkeeper, that you're confident that June can go out there and produce a good game for you guys in this tournament?
I can't speak enough about our goalkeeper department. I think we let in some goals this year early in the season, and I don't put that squarely on the shoulders of any one individual, particularly the goalkeeper. But as we've tightened things up, I think it's highlighted each one of their abilities even more. And Luis, I think we've spoken about a lot recently. June is extremely talented, has a bright future in our club. And then I like to point out Jordan Farr as well. He hasn't played yet, but he was on the roster in the Open Cup against the Battery. He'll be on the roster tomorrow night, and he's a guy that he also could step up if his number's called.
And I just had one just to go back to what you're saying about, you know, educating the players. I know how much work you put in to educate them about this club's history. With Open Cup and there being so many players on this roster who haven't played an Open Cup or people coming from abroad who don't know about Open Cup, how important is it for you, especially someone who's grown up watching the Open Cup, to pass along that passion for the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, being able to educate our players on the history of our club is important because it shows them what's been done before, you know, and we have to respect that history. And then, like I said earlier, I think it inspires them as well to say, I want to add to that history. I want to add to that legacy. Specifically, the Open Cup, they now, I mean, in the building now, you know, it's some really good signage around the building that shows all 3 of the times that we've won it and the celebration of that moment and lifting the trophy. And it's an important competition in the landscape of U.S. soccer. It's something that's been around for a very, very long time. And I think the best way to honor it is to, especially from DC United's standpoint, is to go out and put out the best team possible to try to win it.
Great. And then one other for me, the last time we played Charlotte was Decision Day last year. Obviously, it didn't work out in our favor. Does that add an extra bite to this match tomorrow?
I can't speak for the group on that, but man, look, Charlotte, they got the better of us that night, and that was a big day for us. That was an important day for us to potentially be in the playoffs, and in the end, we lose out on goal differential. And you know, it's something that sticks in my mind, that's for sure. But what sticks in my mind is I thought that they were really well prepared on the night. So what I can learn from that is we have to be even better prepared against them, because I think Dean Smith and his group, they organize their team in a really good fashion. So we have to do better from our side so that we don't experience the same result as last year.
Perfect. Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys.